Hey there, I'm just going to do a garden tour. This is mostly to help me through the winter, and so that next year when I'm, it's the end of May, I can say, oh, well, this is how things were then. So this might be the last time you see my face. I'm just going to talk and show you the plants. Okay. So we'll start with the greenhouse. I made really good use of the greenhouse this year. This little greenhouse, though, is falling apart, and so I'm going to need to figure something else out by next year. In the back there's some sunflowers growing. In the front, these here are tiny tomatoes that need to be transplanted. And then over here I did corn because the sunflowers and the corn are there because I wasn't sure if squirrels were going to be eating them, and so I just planted extra, so we'll have to see. That corn may just be used for extra pollen and not actually for the corn. Anyways, this is a passionflower plant that I picked up this year. I'm really looking forward to the little blooms opening, and these may turn into passionflower fruit eventually. They might have to be in for a few years. Maybe the climate won't be right. I don't know, but the flowers are gorgeous anyway. Here we have a cherry and a plantain. This cherry I thought was dead. This whole thing here, in the end, it just didn't look very well. And then I saw just yesterday there are actually leaves coming out. So yay for this cherry. So this is another cherry. And so these are cherry shrubs, and they are Cupid cherries, and this one is growing really well. We'll head to the backyard, and I wanted to do this today because it's overcast and the forget-me-nots are still out, and they're so pretty. This is the big rhubarb plant. It will need to be cut up next year, separated, split probably into 3, maybe even 4 plants. So next year we may not have a lot of rhubarb to use, but I have little rhubarb plants growing too, and the little rhubarb plants that I have growing, and that one in 2 years we'll have tons of rhubarb. Probably enough for our whole family for the year. So this is the garden. Hopefully I didn't go too fast there. A little slower this time. It's not a very big garden, but we've managed to do quite a bit here. These gray garbage bins are potatoes this year, and so I had some potatoes in the kitchen that we're going to seed. I put them in and put soil over them. They started growing, and soon, I think it's when they hit about 6 inches tall, so maybe in the next day or two, I'll add some soil. And then as they keep growing, I'll just keep adding soil until they flower. And then when the flowers die, we can dump over the buckets and harvest the potatoes. So I'm pretty excited about that. I've wanted to try this for probably 2 years and just haven't. So this is the first year for trying it. Back here, there's turnip. Between the squirrels and seeds getting washed out, they are not in rows anymore, but that's okay. And here we have the peas. This is how the peas are looking at this day, March 29th, I believe. May 29th, 2020. On the other side, we have some beefsteak or Roma tomato plants. They started getting mixed up as I was transplanting them. But this little one here in the little pot will have to be staked or something at some point soon. Here we have more tomato plants. And then this is how the dill is looking right now. Dill got planted a lot earlier in April, I think. and another tomato plant. This bed here has been kind of troublesome. So the first two beds, this one and this one, my dad helped me build, and the kids helped take the skids apart, and it was quite neat to build them. But this one I was like, what can I do by myself? Just me. And so I came up with this kind of, first there was, my friend had these tiles right here that she was clearing out. And so I grabbed those and I put them around a skid and I planted them, and it looked really nice. But then the tiles started falling apart, and it was time to do something different, make more walls and build it up. And so I did the chicken wire, and then to hold it in I used the white bags from the soil, but I'm very unhappy with how it looks. So I've got some blocks coming, and then we'll get some wood, and the next time you see this it'll be hopefully much nicer looking. But inside here is morning glories. I also planted moonflowers in here, but I don't see a moonflower coming up in this one here. This bed is so big that I wasn't able to, I've been planting it with the same crop, like all cucumbers or all tomatoes or whatever. And then I realized that I couldn't get to the middle. So this year I planted the middle. You can see it's just some nice sunflowers coming up. Hopefully the squirrels leave them alone. And here we have some beans, petunia and marigold, and then here's hot peppers, more petunia and marigold, and then cucumbers over there, petunias and marigolds. And then I planted flowers in there, borage and some other flowers I can't remember. And we'll see how that goes. And once they come up, then I will finish mulching this bed. A couple reasons for the mulching was, one, to help keep the moisture in the bed, and two, I had read that cats don't like it, so it'll help keep cats out of the bed. So I looked out the window this morning, and Colin had noticed as soon as just sitting in about here, just sitting there. So apparently he doesn't mind. He likes the feel of the mulch, but at least he wasn't digging. In here I have my herb planter that I did up. So I've got 3 rosemary because I just love rosemary, and then a thyme and a sage. In this little planter here, I put morning glories and moonflowers. This is my first successful moonflower coming up. Let's hope it continues and gets really big. I wanted moonflowers because they open at night and they smell really good, and morning glories because they open for the day. Morning glories were my grandfather's favorite flower, and I just love them. So it'll be nice when they grow. Now in here though, what we do have coming up, always I can find these. These are seeds from Manitoba maple, and I can pull 1 million of these a day out of everywhere. So let's get you to. So they're everywhere, and that's that bed. Here I got a sweet woodruff a couple years ago. One little plant, and it's spreading out all over here. It smells so nice. I planted a rhubarb in here, right here, but it didn't. It doesn't look like it's going to do anything. Yeah, well. This is a hibiscus plant that I got, this huge plant from a friend a year and a half ago, and decided to bring it outside this year because I just thought it would love the outside so much, hoping it doesn't pick up any problems while it's out here. The old leaves, there's a leaf back here that's kind of turning yellow, but it is acclimating to the new environment. But the new leaves are so vibrantly green that I feel like it's probably pretty happy. I've taken about 6 cuttings from this plant too, so hopefully I can, they're up in the window there, hard to see, but hopefully I can grow them from cutting as well. And then over here we have our raspberry patch. I dug up a couple raspberries from an acquaintance a couple of years ago, a friend a couple of years ago, and this is what we got now. We get a few more every year. Now, of course, we have to have garlic mustard. This is another thing I've been pulling like crazy. It's everywhere. I pulled everything I could see out of here last week, and now I see tons more, so I've got to go back through. It's probably only 5 days ago. I'm going to go back through and pull it all again. It's crazy how much there is. It spreads everywhere. Oh well. This pot is mesclun mix. And in here, I just mulched this bed yesterday because I wanted to wait for the plants to come up. There's still some gladiolas going to come up in here, and I'm hoping they will burst through the mulch, that it won't be too thick on top. So I'm going to do a little research on that and see, but the glads will be coming up in the corners, in the middle. Yeah. So these are bush beans, so they're not going to get very tall, and I might have planted them too thick. We'll see. I'm debating, should I take some out? But I probably won't, because I just don't. These I have in here, so this is a beet and then carrots. I did the carrots in 2 rows, but again, squirrels and rain and whatever, they kind of just washed where they were going to wash. And this is shallots. I'm the first year doing shallots, so we'll see how that goes. Ugh, mosquito just bit my leg. There, started. Okay. One thing that I don't know exactly what's going on is I have these little plants here that totally took over this bed, like totally overtook it, and they're still in the corners, like the roots are through everything, but I couldn't really mulch that because I got to fix the side here before we can really get in and mulch the edges. So hopefully the mulching will kind of keep those out of the rest of the bed. Here we have some more mesclun mix, and here in this one too. In here is Tuberous Begonia coming up, and then I planted flower seeds on the edges, but I can't remember what I planted, so they look familiar, but I'm gonna have to wait till they get a little bigger before I can know for sure what they are. So that's another Tuberous Begonia with something coming around on the edges. I had a whole big strawberry thing planted, but this is going to be what we have for strawberries right now. One. No, I thought maybe this was one, but it's just another one of those little clovery like weeds. Next year, hopefully, I'll get a green stalk planter and can have a tower of strawberries and maybe put marigolds in the bottom, so that hopefully squirrels will be like, oh, this is not interesting to us. We don't need these because they're just marigolds. Strawberries or squirrels are pretty smart little creatures, though. In this bed, we have sweet pepper plants, and then a row of carrots, and a sage plant, a petunia, another rosemary, because I love rosemary. And then these are Roma tomato plants in there. At the back, those are beefsteak tomatoes. I use this, we had a dog crate that was wrecked a few years ago by a dog with separation anxiety. Poor guy. And so I'm just using the crate to hold the tomatoes, to stake the tomatoes on. Here's the little rhubarbs. These were grown from seed this year, so hopefully they all survive and can be transplanted in early fall to a new rhubarb spot, and then they should be ready to use not next year but the year after. This is another tuberous begonia with this plant here that I don't quite know yet what it is, and another tomato plant and another tuberous begonia with the other plants coming up around this begonia. Looks like it's doing really, really well. Tomato plants, these are all aromas in this, so that's good. In this dresser, marigold. These are black-eyed Susans. There's flowers coming up. And we decided to try the pumpkins in this spot because we don't have as much success with pumpkins as we would like, and we keep trying. And we've never tried them here yet, so we'll try them there. Hopefully we get some pumpkins. And then here's a little rhubarb plant that I grew from seed last year that I transplanted a couple of days ago. It made it through the winter in a little tiny pot, and so it got a spot. Here's another Manitoba maple, and another one, and another one, and another one, and there's probably tons more in there. This is a red currant bush that I put in just about a month ago. We'll see how it's doing. It's looking like it's doing pretty good so far. We'll see. All of this area back here, I would like to turn into a mini food forest. So I'd like to have a dwarf combo apple tree and maybe a dwarf fruit cocktail tree, and then shrubs, some comfrey plants, and some ground cover that's not grass. This is where a fire pit was for the last probably 10 years. And we changed up our fire pit. You'll see that in a minute. And so I had more potatoes and I put them in there. This will eventually be where one of the fruit trees goes. So I don't mind having potatoes in it right now because that'll keep the ground occupied, hopefully, so it doesn't get a whole lot of weeds. More Manitoba maple. All around it are weeds, so it's going to need some work, but that's just, everything needs work, it's okay. This is Shelton. We planted Shelton, this maple tree, I think the first year we moved in. So it's like 12 years old now. It's getting pretty tall. I wish we would have taken pictures of it every year, but at the base of Shelton I have some Chinese noodle beans coming in the mail. They should hopefully be here any day. And at the base I want to plant the Chinese noodle beans and have them grow up Shelton, and then the beans will drip along. It looks so cool. I can't wait. All along the back with the yew and cedar and spruce trees. And we've got other perennials in. There's some peonies hiding in there. They haven't flowered yet. They've been in this will be the second full year they've been in, so we'll see. And there's some daylilies back here. And I've planted some planters with marigolds and gladiolus and sunflowers. I want sunflowers along the back. But I think the squirrels already dug them up, so that's why I've got them growing in the greenhouse. So when they get to be a nice size, I can transplant them, and hopefully by then the squirrels will be not interested. This is this year going to be Three Sisters bed. I did notice this morning there is an ant hill developing in this one, so I should probably figure out how to deal with that sooner rather than later. But the corn is getting pretty nice size. Like, it'll almost be time to plant the beans around the corn. There's some more. And in here we have borage as well. I planted borage when it was the strawberry patch. Going to be the strawberry patch, and I didn't take them up. They can stay in the bed. And then I've got to figure out if I'm going to plant zucchini or squash or a combination of both between. So I'm excited that the corn is growing up. I thought the birds and the squirrels got most of them, but I think that's enough in each patch to do them. So I think I'll save the other ones in the front for just maybe putting in pots and growing along the back as well. I don't really know. To just for pollinating these ones and for some privacy, maybe. All along here, there are more tomato plants. I think these are all beefsteak tomatoes, and then these are, well, that one's got to be dumped, but planters I'm going to be using for other projects, plantings coming up. This is the poppy field. It looks kind of crazy right now, but the poppies in the middle are looking pretty good. Again, a ton of Manitoba maples in here. So pull them up when I can see them quick. I won't spend a lot of time right now on that though. And hopefully I planted more poppy seeds. Hopefully they grow in here. And then I'm going to try and figure out what to do exactly about the border of it to make it not so messy. We've changed some things around. So we got this fire pit for free, and I'm so in love with it. It's so pretty. So I'm glad about that. Along the fence here is kind of our wood storage, a little bit of junk area right now. I'm hoping that by that next spring, I'd like to plant some swamp milkweed in the back corner by the compost. Hopefully it does well there. And then turn the rest of this into a pretty, a long garden bed. And then that will be the last garden bed that will go in here. This garden bed here that the Three Sisters is in, my grandpa made for me when I was a kid. And then it was kind of starting to fall apart, and I was like, what can I do with it? So it's out here as the base for the garden bed. But I'm going to be, once I get the one with the white plastic figured out, and we do that, then I'm going to do the same thing with this one, and it'll be built up higher, and it'll look a little bit neater, hopefully. And then we should be good to go for doing the next one. The next long one all along here. We've got a chainsaw on a pole coming this week, so we'll be able to cut all this. We've been trying to use this little saw here, and it's not really doing so well for cutting all of this up. So we'll get that, and then we'll also be able to get rid of some of the overhang of dead branches here, which will be pretty awesome. This is the Mugwort Bed, which had also daffodils in it. These are daffodils dying back. And then in the center there's this little empty spot, so I put an echinacea in. I'm going to be digging up some of the mugwort because it's kind of taken over here, and giving it to some friends, a couple of friends, and then I'm going to cut it back all the way, or cut it right back down, so that the echinacea has a good chance of competing with it and getting enough sun. And you can cut back mugwort at least twice a year and it'll still come back. It's pretty hardy. I don't know what you could do other than just dig it all up. That might clear it out, because I'm not really noticing it. It doesn't seem to spread by seed. And this is my garden. I was worried, a little bit. Oh, there's so much here. It maybe looks a little cluttered, but everything has a purpose, and there's a function for everything. So it's all good. There's very little junk back here, so I'm pretty happy with it. Anyway, that's the backyard. Thank you.